So we've got Darren Waller and Jake Ferguson. So Darren Waller has been, quote, unguardable, unquote, and, quote, a headache, unquote, for the Giants defense so far in camp. I was a Giants beat writer. And Jake Ferguson has put on noticeable muscle, changed his diet, and understands fully what is expected of him for the Cowboys in 2023. And that's a beat writer for the Cowboys also. So thoughts on just both of these takes? I know Darren Waller, we've seen left and right camp stuff talking about, they had to take Waller out to have Daniel Jones actually throw to other people because Waller was just such a problem. And Jake Ferguson, of course, getting a bit of run here with Luke Schoonmaker out, I believe, on the pup. So what are your thoughts on these guys?
Yeah, well said on both. I think I'll start with Jake Ferguson, and he obviously had a couple of highlight plays last year. I think he jumped over a defender or two, and I think that anytime you see those type of highlight plays, you get excited in fantasy. But I think it just leaves a lot to be desired for Jake, and I don't necessarily think it's the talent. I think it's just the lack of opportunity for catches in Dallas with Schoonmaker, who eventually will be off pup and will eventually play. By the way, he's a second-round pick and will be 25 during the year. I just didn't understand that pick by the Cowboys. And then you also have Peyton Hendershot, who flashed at times last season for the Cowboys. So I think that it's just a muddled tight end room there now. I think that the Dallas Cowboys obviously have found ways to be very productive with their tight ends over the years, and I don't think this is any different. But I think it's just going to be more of a hodgepodge and smorgasbord of who's going to be successful week to week. Darren Waller's got me excited. I think this is big news for the Giants. I think they need somebody to step up and be wide receiver one, and they have a ton of names in that wide receiver room. Darren Waller could be tight end 2 or 3 this season. I know we talk about, maybe the health hasn't been what it once was the past couple of years for Derek Carr and the Raiders. But if he's healthy, which is a big caveat, he's not over the hill by any means. He does not have a lot of tread on his tires. He's a late bloomer. He could be really, really special with Daniel Jones this upcoming fall. I'm very excited to see what that looks like, and probably going to be eyeing him is tight end 4 or 5 off the draft board. I think you also have to give credence to guys like Dallas Goedert, George Kittle, obviously before him, but he will be hot on my radar following.
Yeah, seeing him have a couple of injury-riddled seasons after a couple of back-to-back, just him being the target monster in Vegas for Derek Carr, that safety blanket. And I think the thought was, once those injuries kind of started to happen, eventually, obviously, he makes his way over to the Giants. You want him to have a resurgence, but then you also think, all right, well, what does that even look like? Like, what kind of a target share is even going to have? And honestly, I think he probably is not going to replicate what he did in his prime of in Vegas, but that's just because the passing volume won't be there. But I think he could very easily lead pass catchers in targets this year, and they do have a weird mix of wide receivers in that room, and it's interesting because it's not like a lot of clear, like, all right, you're the clear best slot, you're the clear best outside. It's a lot of just guys, mostly a lot of slot guys, honestly. And I'm sure we might get some cuts, but I don't know who.
Right, you're so right, Chu. But I mean, you talk about like somebody like David Sills, deep down on the depth chart. Darius Slayton.
Yep. My boy Hodgins, though.
Isaiah Hodgins, major flashes last year. Wan'Dale Robinson is back. ACL injury last year, Oklahoma product. He's about 30 years old. He's been on the Giants forever. Sterling Shepard.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Sterling Shepard's back.
Paris Campbell's a big
Paris Campbell. Dude,
That's
I mean, we can just go back and forth. And we just named like 6 or 7 guys. It's a lot of names. And so I think they need somebody to stand out in the crowd. And I'm hopeful that it's Darren Waller. I never met her.
Oh, man. Jake, you are
What just happened there? Did somebody say something? I blacked out for a second.
Firing on all cylinders with the names today, Jake. I love it. Well, Waller, I think pretty secure in his target share there in New York. We'll just see how big that, how many targets that is. And Jake Ferguson, ho-hum athleticism. He just seems like the guy, with he and Hendershot kind of going back and forth last year. Schultz, of course, going to go, and he's going to go ball out in Houston. But Ferguson's a guy where he just kind of seems like I can't put my finger on what he does necessarily in terms of like he's not the overly athletic tight end. He's not the Darren Waller. He's not any of these other guys, the Njokus or whatever. But he just gets it done. He just can be there for Dak. And I know as you have CD Lamb working on the outside, you got Gallup. I think Ferguson could maybe slide in like top 15, top 12,
Sure.
but on the back end of it.
Okay.
And as we know though, really if you're not in the top 3 of tight end in scoring, there's a tremendous drop off after that. So you could have some names that are tight end 10 and tight end 12 in a given season where you're like, who, Jawan Johnson? Like it'll just be a who's who, and it may not help you in totality, but from a week to week streaming way, if you snag Jake Ferguson and he happens to get a tutty or two in that week, then he helped you out.